Hello! And yes, we are later than the typical time because I was just at a concert. It was concert time.
Whoa,
So
so
I just got
cool.
back 2 minutes ago. Yeah.
Not very nice. What
Uh,
concert?
have you ever listened to Fang Suave? I think I sent them to you.
I don't recognize the name.
Oh, so you're a fool then. If anyone
Maybe.
here listens to Fang Suave, I know they're kind of a smaller band, I think. But if anyone here
Hmm.
listens to Fang Suave, you're a real OG, and I'll put you on the screen. Which I now realize is probably going to lead to people saying that, but they don't actually listen to it. But anyway, also, oh, interesting. So I've pulled up our stream here because Noah says he can't see me. Is that still the case?
Now I see you. I see about 10 pixels, maybe
Right.
12 pixels total.
Good. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on our live stream, which is really good. Huh. Well, it says my Wi-Fi connection is unstable. Now, I'm on Ethernet theoretically. God, I hate Xfinity. Stupid ass. Yeah, I'm on Ethernet. Okay, let's see. This might be risky, but I'm turning off Wi-Fi. Okay.
Okay.
Do I break or do I get better now? Is anything happening?
More of the same. Also, your video is. Oh, is it getting a little better? Or maybe
Hello?
you're just
Hello? It's
moving
me.
less.
What? Oh no. Also, I love this person who's saying like, "Let's jump to the topic." Bro, it's been 1 minute. Chillax. We're
We got to
getting
get
there.
this working here because your video is like way delayed. It's like a 5 second delay from the audio.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad. That's the new style. It's in these days, Everyone's saying all this
Yeah,
high
yeah.
quality video, it's getting under people's skin. We just want something low quality and crappy looking. That's what I
No, I
want.
agree. It's like the lo-fi. There's like the lo-fi craze or lo-fi hip hop. Now it's like
Exactly.
lo-fi podcast.
Okay, I still don't understand. You know what? There's only one thing left for me to do.
What's that? Oh, he's gone. He's gone. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if we're getting a full reboot here. I don't know if we're getting a refresh here, but Luke Miani has left the building. Oh, and he's back and he looks
Hey,
amazing. Oh, sorry, your video looks
yo.
amazing.
Oh yeah,
I should
yeah, that's a
clarify.
good distinction.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
worked?
Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah. I just had to go and hack the mainframe real quick and we're back.
Nice, nice, nice.
Oh, that's glorious. I love that. Let me just check on the old stream. Oh, yeah. I'm still a little lower resolution than you, but I will take that. I hate Xfinity with a burning passion. Just gotta throw in that anti-plug against Xfinity there. So there you go.
Anytime you get the chance, you got to do it.
Absolutely. You know what else I got to do anytime I get the chance?
What's that?
Start the podcast.
Yeah, let's get to the topic.
Yeah. That way that we won't have a raging anti-mob on our hands.
Yeah.
And I see people want us to talk about a couple of things. We got M2 MacBook. They want to know what camera I'm using, as if that matters, given what Xfinity is doing to said camera.
I like the username of that
Oh,
comment,
I
by the
did
way.
not read that. Anyway, someone else wanted us to talk about that new headset. We got stuff to talk about now. We got some viewer suggestions.
Oh, we could talk about Apple Park a little bit.
Oh yes, we
Could
should
mention
start with
that.
that. Yeah,
All
yeah, yeah.
right, all right.
Let's go ahead and get into it, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage advice from two technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves. It's what our moms tell people when they hear that their sons got invited to Apple Park. Oh heavens. I'm your host,
Hmm.
Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way. And maybe those laughs happen inside of the Apple Park campus. Maybe.
Whoa. What's all this then?
I know. Pretty crazy.
You're going to have to fill everyone in on what we're talking about.
Yes, I will fill the folks in. So this past Tuesday, I got to go to the Apple Park campus because my friend who works at Apple had a holiday party, and he invited me as his plus one because he knows how much I like Apple and all that stuff. So he invited me as his plus one, and I did get to go inside of Apple Park to go to the holiday party. It was very cool.
What did you eat? Did they serve M1 chips?
Yes, M1 fish and chips. No, I'm kidding. No, it was very good. It was they were basically just like appetizers, whatever, like spring rolls, samosas, what else? I don't know. There was a couple of appetizer things. There was some good desserts. I had a nice pumpkin cheesecake. There's some tiramisu. They had hot cider and hot cocoa as well. It was a very nice nice selection.
That is, I imagine that Apple hot cocoa would be very good. Was the mug extremely minimal?
It was a normal, like disposable, biodegradable, compostable cup. It was not a fancy mug. No, it was not.
Milled aluminum mug.
Maybe they hid those when all the guests came. Maybe they have them usually, but no, it was a regular old cup. But someone did say, no, just, I know. It was the cups. I will say the campus was very cool, but I want to say someone asked, did they serve apples? And the apples, the hot cider was made from apples that were grown at the Apple Park campus. And that's that. They had a sign that said,
wow.
That. Yeah.
Did they take a bite out of them for you?
Oh yeah.
Could you taste the bite that was taken out?
That's part of the, they pick the apple, they take the bite out of it, and then they go and, they process it or do whatever they're going to do with it. That's that's how it works.
That's pretty amazing. Now, here's my other question.
Mm-hmm.
How integrated were Apple products into this? Like, did they have iPads in this when people were checking in? Did they use iPhone terminals for any was this all part of the Apple ecosystem?
I would say largely it was. There was so my friend, the one who works at Apple, had some passes in his wallet, his Apple wallet. They did use QR codes instead of NFC. But it was the pass in the wallet, and you go to more information, and then it shows a QR code, and they scan that with an iPad. So overall fairly integrated, not perfect, pretty good.
That's amazing.
They did use regular wristbands, paper wristbands to identify us. There wasn't a fancy, oh God, there wasn't a fancy, no fancy, computer vision, or no, they didn't give us, an iPhone that was our identification iPhone that we would carry around with us. Nothing like that.
That's kind of cringe, not gonna lie.
I know.
But that's a missed opportunity if ever there was one.
I know. I feel like I was kind of hoping they would just give us, you go to a holiday party, there's usually some kind of swag, something or other. I figured it would probably be an iPhone or maybe an iPad, maybe even a Mac. I don't know.
I know. You would imagine.
Right? I mean, it's the least they could do.
It's not like they don't have any lying around that they could use.
I know.
Come on. So did you see Tim?
I did not see Tim. I was looking for Johnny Saruji. I hope I said his name right, because this was I think this party was for the people that work on the Apple chips. And I know he's the head of that department. I didn't see him. He probably wasn't there, to be honest with you. But there were a lot of people there, and it was very cool. So I got to see the cafe, the main cafe at Apple Park. It's
Cafe Max?
huge. Yeah, it was Cafe Max. It was huge. It was 3 stories tall. There were like trees. It was like indoors, but there were like trees and stuff like some of the Apple stores have. It was very nice. And
Wow.
then the outdoor area, the full outdoor, like the field area inside of the campus was completely open. So we went out there, we walked, we did a loop around the campus. We went to the activity arch or whatever it's called, the multicolored arch. And there was like some pool, some pond kind of thing with artificial waves in it. It was all very cool. It was very, very
Bro,
cool.
you got to tell. First of all, do you think I'll die if I put up some of the pictures that you showed?
I think you could. Okay, maybe the ones that are outside, you could do like 1 or 2 of those. I don't know.
Okay, we're good. We'll just do this one.
That's fine. That's good.
There's your proof. Look, he was at the rainbows. There you go. Look at that.
I think I think that's a kind of a pretty good picture. I don't know.
I think that
it's
is a
cool.
good picture. You got a good angle. Look at the black levels on the iPhone 14 Pro. Wow.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah.
Not too
yeah.
shabby.
So we had this, and it was very interesting. When you're in the middle, you're surrounded on all sides by the building, which is kind of weird. Like you're looking around and all sides, you see this like, brightly lit, like white circular thing. The windows were super clear. You heard, the old story about how people would run into the windows at Apple Park because they were so clear. And they are very clear.
They must, dude. I feel like Apple is like such a micromanagey type of company that they probably have like this insanely specific routine and like special tools for cleaning the windows there. Dude, honestly, I don't think I would ever in a million years want to work at Apple.
Yeah, judging by some people that I've talked to and the general like feeling that I've got, I also agree with you.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like everyone is very overworked and doesn't know what they're working on, and there's not a ton of room for fun from what I've heard.
Yeah, like okay, here's the thing. This holiday party was super fun for me because I got to go to Apple Park, and that was like, one of my bucket list items while I lived, while I'm living here in California. I wanted to go to Apple Park and I got to do it. So I'm super excited about that. But if you worked there, it would be pretty boring. They had the food, they had the drinks. They did have alcohol as well. I didn't drink any, but they did have alcohol as well. And they had, what did they have? They had an Apple Arcade station, which was just 4 big TVs with Apple TVs and like controllers. It was a cute little thing, but it was
pretty bare minimum.
Yeah, it was pretty bare minimum. And then they had like 2 like photo opportunity stations, but you would give them your phone and they would use your phone to take a picture of you, which is not bad. Like you get the picture immediately and the phone camera's pretty good, but it wasn't like, professional photographer. It was like you hand them your phone to take a picture for you.
What? So it was just like a backdrop and a guy?
So one of them was indoors and they had like a background that looked like it could have been a Mac OS wallpaper. It wasn't, but it looked like it could have been. So that kind of thing. And then one of them was outside, where you would get the arch in the background, and they did have like big lights set up to have good lighting in the picture, but you'd basically just walk up, you'd hand your phone to one of the Apple, employees, whatever, and they would take a picture of you. So they had that, they had the arcade, they had this karaoke thing, and literally my friend and I walked in there, and the person like running the karaoke thing was doing the karaoke, and there were like 5 other people in the room that were just watching, and no one was like doing it. And then we left.
Oh dear. Oh, see, that honestly, first of all, at the photo op, did they have like a bucket, and if someone handed them an Android to take photos, they just like threw the phone away?
Yeah. They had that. Remember that like Apple, that like that robot thing that would disassemble the iPhones, and they showed that off in a video.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had one of those, and if you had an Android phone, they would just hand it to the robot.
Dude, that was actually kind of a cheeky little scam thing, because I'm pretty sure when they showed that got event time, that little robot that takes apart the phone, I'm pretty sure they have one of those. and it can only take apart iPhone 6 or whatever. And like that's it. It's just like a robot in a room that they feed iPhone 6s and it takes them apart. It like does not make any difference in the grand scheme of things, but it got like 5 minutes of event time.
Yeah, yeah. I barely remember that thing, but I do remember like the video about it. It had some name. I forget what it was called, but
Yeah.
it was like Lucas, or not Lucas, but it was like some like name. I feel
I
like it was
thought
like
it
a
was
normal
maybe it
name.
might have been it's called Daisy.
Oh, Daisy. Okay.
So it can disassemble up to 200 iPhones per hour or 1.2 million iPhones per year. And well, apparently they must have done some like PR push in like May of this year because a couple of YouTubers got to go look at it.
Hmm.
And
That's
it
cool.
looks like it's in Converge Engineering. They like, oh no, you're kidding me.
What?
Remember I said that it was taking apart iPhone 6s?
Yeah.
I I, I think that's what it's still doing.
Really?
Let me oh no, those are iPhone 5s, bro.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. It's taking apart iPhone 5s.
But like how many of those are left to be taken apart?
I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of them left, but like is it doing multiple models? That's what I want to know. It seems like it pulls out
Yeah.
batteries and then it's like drilling some holes. It looks like it's unscrewing the home buttons. Oh no, I don't think it does anything that doesn't have a home button.
Oh.
And then it's pulling out the logic boards. Yeah, okay, these are I'm looking at a photo here of the bucket of the screens that are taken off and there is nothing newer than an iPhone. I guess they could be up to an iPhone 8, but there is nothing here without a home button.
What about the SE? What about the new SE?
I mean, I guess so, but I can't imagine there's that many of those being recycled, but
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like they're not really doing a ton with this. But there was a report here from January 11th, 2020. Oh no. How many are we down now? That's just 2 down, right?
2 down.
Wow. Well, that's a pretty good pace.
Yeah, not too bad.
So oh. Well, that's not great. Apple in this report, they emphasized to Reuters that Apple isn't competing with companies who mine for resources. They said, "We're not necessarily competing with the folks who mine. There's nothing for miners to fear in this development." Do you know what that means?
What's that?
That means that they're not getting anywhere near all of the materials that they could out of that process.
Yeah. I don't know. And then what are they I want to know what they're even doing with this. Like I guess they disassemble the phone and then I don't even know what they're doing with I guess they're trying to get some of the metal and stuff out of it, but like how
Yeah,
much can you really get out of it?
I mean they can get. I think they search for like tungsten, gold, aluminum, of course, cobalt, the all the rare earth metals that are necessary for electronics manufacturing. But it's like this is, I would argue, a little bit performative. Um, Kyle Wiens, CEO of iFixit, said that Apple has this ego that believes they can get all their minerals back, and it's just not possible. I mean, it would be amazing if they could, because think about how many electronics are out there in the world right now. You could basically end up in this infinite loop, pun intended, of electronics just being made and remade and made and remade, right? But as they're pointing out here, the case is recyclable, like the aluminum on an iPhone 5, 6, 7, the rails on the 8, I guess. Like those are recyclable for sure, pretty easily, because it's just an aluminum frame that you can melt down and purify. But when it comes to taking metals out of logic boards or batteries, the returns on that are probably not what you would ideally want to have happen.
Yeah, and I feel like, as much as it would be great for that to improve, I guess from Apple's perspective, they've done enough to be like, we're doing something, we're trying, whatever. And then
That's
they're
the
like,
problem.
Okay, that's it.
Here's the problem with environmental consciousness for businesses. So there's a sort of a twofold thing, which is number one, a good thing that consumers have finally put their money where their mouths are, and we demand that companies are conscious of social issues. There's a whole thing. I took a whole class in college where we talked about corporate social responsibility, their entire job postings for CSR positions. And basically it comes down to we're at a point in, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a trend, but we're at a stage where consumers demand that companies are not flagrantly wasteful, right? If you spill oil in the Gulf, we're going to get mad at you. If you if you just set fire to pits of toxic materials, people aren't going to want to buy your stuff. So these companies have a demonstrable incentive to at least have the appearance of being climate friendly. And that's good. That gets you somewhere, right? Because there is a reason for Apple or any big company to make these moves. Because at the end of the day, all companies are realistically self-interested and heartless, right? They're in it to make money. Everyone's afraid of the next guy being mad at them for not making enough money, all the way up through the board and then to the shareholders, right? So everyone's afraid that they're not going to make enough money. So money's the driving factor. And when it makes you money to be eco-friendly, you will do that. However, the disconnect comes in the PR benefit of eco-friendliness versus the actual attainable reality of eco-friendliness. And so Apple, it makes sense for them to develop this robot that can get you a couple of minerals here and there and get you to fly in some press to talk about your cool robot, right? That doesn't cost a ton of money. It generates good PR and news and gives people a warm, fuzzy feeling. And they think, oh, my phone's just going to get turned into another phone. It's this cycle of life. And that means that I can upgrade my iPhone without worrying about my environmental impact. The problem is it's kind of skin deep, right? It faces the public, but it doesn't actually make a huge difference to the company. And that's the issue that we're going to have for the foreseeable future until we reach a point where it makes more financial sense for Apple to mine materials from their own recycled products than it does to pull them out of the earth. They're not going to do it on a broad scale. That's just how it's going to work.
Yeah, definitely. And this also goes to the same thing, because some people in the chat are talking about, someone said if Apple really cared about the environment, they would let people repair their products. That's what someone said. And
Absolutely.
I completely agree. But it's again one of those things where Apple is sort of picking and choosing
Mhm.
What they want to do. So they'll say, every time they announce a new product, they always say, it's sustainably sourced and whatever. They have that whole like checklist of things that it doesn't have bad things in it and it was sourced from whatever. They have that whole thing and they're like, okay, that's good for the environment. We like that. They can talk about like their trade-in program. They can talk about these robots that they have and they can do these things. And then they do things that are bad for the environment, like the restrictive behavior around repairs. And, basically in their eyes, if they've done enough to say that they care about the environment, then they've done enough and they don't have to do everything. And
Yep.
to a point that's understandable that you don't, you have a lot of things to worry about and the environment is one that you should worry about, but there are other things as well. But obviously Apple and most companies could do more. I don't think any company is near the point where they've done too much for the environment that they're like,
Yeah,
okay, you can focus on something else. I don't think any company is anywhere near that. And Apple definitely
I
could
agree.
do, a lot more there.
I think a great example of this is carbon credits.
Mhm.
Carbon credits are the number one performative bullshit that gets companies off the hook, gives them a little PR thing that they can put on their website and does absolutely nothing. Uh, I mean, like, for example, oh no, we're already down 3 out of 6. Oh crap.
Yeah.
Um, in Apple's case, they make a lot of fuss about recycled aluminum. Almost all Macs and iPhones use recycled aluminum, which of course makes sense because when you look at a MacBook, the aluminum is extremely accessible and recyclable. The pro the problem is those other materials like you find in your battery, your display, and your logic board itself. Those materials are manufactured into complex multi-part products, and that's a lot harder to extract resources from. With a MacBook, it's very easy. I could at home with a screwdriver and a little bit of effort, I could just strip down a top case, right? Use some solvents, pull out the battery. Uh, you could get through the keyboard just by punching it out. Basically, obviously, you're not trying to do this in a way that you're trying to keep things intact, right? So you could just punch the keyboard out, pop the rivets, and you're good. You've got yourself a top case. Melt that boy down, and you're done, right? Easy. But that is like a very, very easy thing to recycle. And aluminum, the process of gathering aluminum, isn't in itself a particularly difficult process. Nowhere near as hard as making a lithium ion battery. And so, as you're saying, Noah, it's a very easy, low effort thing to say, oh, look, 100% recycled aluminum. But they haven't even attempted to do anything with AirPods. AirPods are just e-waste waiting to happen. The fact that they design those things that are entirely just glued together, these tiny little parts, almost nothing in there is recyclable. And I'm sure with a quick Google search here, I could just type in AirPods e-waste and find an image of just piles and piles of AirPods.
Mhm.
It's I mean, it does not take long to find. Oh, yeah, I already got a big pile of AirPods. It's it's you can pat yourself on the back for the easy step, but it's not an effective step.
Yeah, the AirPods are really unfortunate because so I had the original. Let's see, I had the original AirPods Pro. No, I had the original AirPods, the very first gen AirPods, and those served me very well. The battery like really, went at the end, so I had to upgrade. And then
Yeah,
those are just e-waste now. Then I had
absolutely.
the AirPods Pro first generation, and I used those for like 2.5 years or something. I used it for a very long time, and I love them. But I did have to get the earbuds replaced. So my original earbuds became e-waste. And now the case on that won't charge, like it's having trouble charging the left bud. Oh my God, that almost hit me. Actually did hit me a little bit. So the original, so now I have newish buds for those AirPod Pro 1, but the case is having problems, and they did the diagnostics and they found that the case had a problem. So those are sitting in my drawer, and they're kind of not like, I would give them to someone else, but like the left pod doesn't really charge, so it's, kind of pointless. And then I got the AirPods Pro 2, which I love, but I had to get the left AirPod replaced almost immediately because it had some kind of problem where it wouldn't charge. So that left AirPod became e-waste. So it's just, I love the AirPods and I get a lot of use out of them every time I buy them. I use them every day, multiple hours a day. But at the end of the day, they become e-waste, and even more than other things. Like I've had to get those replaced more than other things. And when they have to get replaced, it's the whole thing. They just give you a new pod or a new case or whatever, and there's no repair. There's really nothing they can do with them, like you said.
Yeah. It's and then there are a lot of very vague and good sounding but hollow things that you can do. Most of what companies do now in terms of environmental work is not actually reducing their impact, which would be, Apple making AirPods not terrible for the environment. What most people focus on is offsetting. And I personally would argue that that is a bad approach. I don't think, if you're saying like, okay, well, I'm destroying an ecosystem to get the material and then putting this back into the ecosystem in an undecomposable waste for 1,000 years, but I'm planting a couple of trees. Like, I don't really think that is the same thing. You're just sort of shifting the pieces around and trying to remove the responsibility from your shoulders. For example, I just pulled up here Apple's environmental progress report for 2022. And one of their big things on here is carbon removal. So in 2021, they started this fund called the Restore Fund with Conservation International and Goldman Sachs. And they put $200 million into this. Now, Apple's revenue in 2021 was $394.3 billion. And their profit in 2021 was $170 billion. So this whole page about, we're restoring over 1 million metric tons of carbon by investing in nature-based solutions. And these big flashy $200 million numbers, well, 200 million out of 170 billion. Could I get a quick percentage check on that? 200
It's not good.
Is that 200 out of 170,000? Does that reduce correctly, or is it 1,700?
Tell me again, what was it?
It's 200 million out of 170 billion.
That's like, and then wait, we have to multiply by 100 to get percent, right? So it's like 0.1%, 0.12% or something.
Yeah, 0.12%. So if you make $100,000 a year after taxes, or let's say you make $100,000 a year after taxes, that would be like you donating $120 and going and posting online and being like, "Look at this! I am gonna save the planet." That's absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
I mean, in this case, the thing is that Apple makes so much money that 0.1% actually ends up being like a lot in terms of like absolute value, but in terms of relative value, obviously it's very tiny.
And you get these like weird phrases like, by 2030, we aim to use initiatives like the Restore Fund to remove enough carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to cover the direct emissions across our value chain that we are unable to avoid directly. That sounds like a little bit of a cop out, if you ask me. You're basically saying in a 10-year period, we aim to just barely meet a set of emissions that we have specified as a small portion of our total emissions that we don't really feel like removing. Bro, you have made $170 billion in 1 year. And you're going to say, oh, we need 10 years to just match this small portion of stuff that we can't be bothered to do anything else about. This is not this is nothing more than PR fluff. There is no substance to any of this. And this isn't just Apple. Obviously, we talk about Apple here. Any large corporation, they all are 100% net negative environmentally speaking. I do not believe there is a single company out there that is anything more than performatively interested in the environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, Apple could be doing a lot more. And you could definitely argue, you could very easily argue, and I would agree that Apple has an obligation. I think any company that is making an outsized impact on the environment has an outsized responsibility to take care of it. Like all
Absolutely.
these things, very easy to say like, oh, it's the consumers, like drive your, use less electricity, turn your lights off, whatever. And not that that's not going to help, but when you compare the impact of like an average person to the impact of a company, it's a very big difference. So I think, if
Absolutely.
you have an outsized impact on the environment, you have an outsized responsibility to make up for it. But I think, there just isn't enough. Companies are legally obligated, or directors of companies are legally obligated to act in the interests of the company. They're legally obligated
Exactly.
to do the things that they need to do to help the company, succeed and make money and whatever. And so part of that, I think when you look at the environmental stuff that Apple and these companies have done, is that legally, or not legally, but like, obviously, if they didn't do anything for the environment, that would be a very bad look. And so if they need to act in the interests of the company, it is in the company's interest to appear like they care about the environment and they do stuff to help it. But if you go too far, I say too far, like, if you go, very far and you pour lots of money and effort into the environment, then, it can come up like, is this really in the best interest of the company to be spending so much money on this other thing? And so that's where, the legal system can come in, things like the Green New Deal and other laws that that could potentially be passed that would make it in the company's best interest. Or people, the people that express that this is a very important thing to them, again, makes it more in the company's interest. But that's the only way that you're going to see more focus on the environment. And things are better now than they were before, but there's still, a long way to go.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's just the issue. It has to be in the interest of the company, which is inherently not the interests of the planet. There was one line in here that I find particularly galling, which is, we believe that this can be done while achieving a financial and environmental return on our investment. So the whole like gimmick of this fund is they think that they can restore, they think they can remove carbon per year while also profiting from carbon removal. Now, I would argue that that is inherently the direction that we want to go. Removing carbon and having it be profitable is probably the only way that we collectively get out of this mess. because as we've discussed, companies are not going to just voluntarily, out of the goodness of their hearts, sacrifice profit for the environment. So I agree that the goal being profitability is probably a good thing, but it just reads a little bit pathetic when you talk about Apple bragging about investing 0.12% of their gross profit, and they think they can make their money back. Like, it is not a very glowing endorsement when you are investing such a tiny, tiny fraction and you think you're going to get it back. You know what I mean? I feel like that just kind of undercuts the altruisticness that they're trying to put off in this piece.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's just, they're doing what they need to do to satisfy customers or to appear like they're doing something, and that's about it. And it's better than nothing, but it's, far from what it should be or what it could be.
Gosh, this got a little bit depressing.
I know, it was like fun, like, ooh, a party at Apple Park, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, wow, Apple hates the environment.
Oh gosh, this is a little bit cringe here. A very decent portion of their environmental summary here is talking about energy consumption of the devices. So they say that product energy use accounts for 22% of the gross carbon footprint. And so they're talking about Mac Mini uses up to 60% less energy than the previous generation because of Apple Silicon. So if you're talking about product energy in total accounting for 22% of your gross carbon footprint, and you're talking about a Mac Mini as a subset of that using 60% less, that is the tiniest little fraction, the tiniest, tiniest, tiniest little portion of already only 22% of their footprint. Like, I don't know. It's like you're kind of. I think it speaks very broadly to the fact that this is a 128-page document that goes on and on and on to talk about these very, very like specific pieces without really addressing the main thing. Like, you kind of go through all of this thing and you see expanding access to renewable electricity, and they keep seeing these like little qualifiers, right? Helping our suppliers find energy solutions and make the right investments to address their specific needs. That doesn't mean we are clean energy full stop. That means we are working to look into potential ways to improve. Like, you add all of these little qualifiers on it and you start to realize, oh, this isn't doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the long term, like, I guess if you zoom out and take the overall view of this, it's a lot of very small things that add up to something, but
Yeah.
what it adds up to is not as big as, Apple might want you to think.
Yeah. Ugh. What the heck? I think it's interesting that you brought up the personal consumption part of it, because that's honestly, I think, something that we need to collectively unlearn. I think, actually, it's not even really a think; it's a coordinated effort, especially in the case of plastic. All of those reduce, reuse, recycle, blah 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 blah. All of those campaigns, most of these things were actually created by the plastic industry, because they figured that, if you offset the blame and say, oh, well, it's not us, it's that you're consuming too much stuff, then you sort of put consumers in the position to accept that blame. And obviously, there are things that consumers can do, but sometimes it is legitimately out of our control. I mean, I find it personally laughable when people say, "Oh, you should really make sure to separate out your recyclables, and you should really make sure that everything that you can recycle is put in proper recycling." When only like 10% of what you put in the recycling actually gets recycled. That's not your fault. That's the fact that the things that you're buying, because that's the only thing that you can buy, is not actually recyclable. And they have sort of tricked you into thinking that it's recyclable, because if you actually look into those little triangle recyclable logos, those don't always mean that it will be recycled. That just means that theoretically, in perfect conditions, it could be. But if it's not
Mhm.
profitable, it might not be. And so, I think that it's unfair to the consumer to say that, you individually are to blame when all of these large companies are effectively giving you that obstacle course. 60, 70 years ago, your milk would be delivered in a glass bottle, and when you were done, you put it out and it got collected. That is reducing, reusing, and recycling all in one. But now, I mean, good luck trying to find milk that comes in a glass. And if it does come in a glass, it's probably some like aesthetic, minimal, like lifestyle brand, and it's like a gallon of milk costs $40 or something. That it's not on you that you have to spend 5 times as much for like lifestyle environmentalism. It's on the companies that are forcing stuff on you because it's more profitable for them.
Yeah, and then the problem is you can push back on it, and you can say like these companies should do better, and maybe let's say that they will actually do better, and it costs them more, and then guess what? The costs will get passed on to the consumer, so you're gonna end up paying for it either
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. How do you get back from that? And it's also, we kind of go down a I feel bad that we got into this about midway through the podcast, because I wanted to talk about my iPhone 3G unboxing and
Mm.
do a little recap for 2022 and the things that we like the most. But it really does feel a little bit weird now to to be like, wow, Apple is performatively endorsing environmentalism while actually doing very little about it, and then to go, hey, the new MacBook Air is pretty nice.
Yeah, it does feel a little weird, but we could try this. How about
Okay.
instead of buying a new iPhone, you are
Mm.
reusing or using for
Mm.
the first time this iPhone 3G that was already made. So that's sort of your environmental contribution here.
Oh, yes. I have kept this iPhone 3G from ever being reintroduced to the environment because it was never used and therefore
Mm,
depleted.
exactly, exactly.
And you know what, Noah? I'm pretty amazed that the battery in that thing lasted, because those are some of the biggest contributors to e-waste and the most, you know, disposable part of our electronic society. And the fact that that iPhone, after 14 years in a box, just charged right up and just works, that kind of blew my mind.
That is actually pretty impressive. And I guess maybe it speaks. No, I guess, it feels weird to be trying to like give Apple some credit. I don't know if it speaks to their
Yeah.
battery technology or it doesn't, but I've definitely run into that case where I found this little, I was, home on the East Coast and I found this little action camera, uh, not a GoPro, but like some other brand of
Hmm.
action camera in my room. And I was like, oh, I'll take this back and I'll put it on my bike and I'll try it out. But the battery doesn't work. So the battery
Mm,
is completely shot. Like if I plug it in, it'll work, but the battery's shot.
yeah.
So it's like,
Oh.
I had this thing I would use, and the battery doesn't work. But that's really awesome. Yeah, 14 years, sitting in a box, and it works. So the battery works, it charges, it holds the charge and all that. It's all good.
Yeah, the phone, honestly, I mean, it is a new phone, but it feels also like a new phone. You would not know that that phone has been in a box for 14 years because it just woke up and it was like, "Hey, what's up? What's up? I'm an iPhone 3G. Where's my network at?" And then I had to be like, but got some bad news for that one, unfortunately. The 3G, it's not, it's not really going. It's not going to happen there, buddy. Uh, so I felt bad in that regard, but you know, I honestly was not expecting that. I was kind of expecting it to be fake because, as far as I can tell from looking on YouTube, I don't believe that anyone has ever unboxed a real iPhone 3G since launch on YouTube that I could find.
Hmm.
Like, uh, so the most prominent one that I can find is Everything Apple Pro. He used to do this whole series of unboxing sealed things. He did one on the 3G, and it was a scam.
Oof.
Yeah, so it was not real. I think iJustine managed to get a 3GS. But apart from that, I don't think that anyone has ever, outside of the last 10 years, nobody has unboxed an iPhone 3G. That's crazy. Until now.
That is crazy. That's really cool.
So I'm trying to see if the iPhone 3GS was at least legitimate, because it's these videos, for whatever reason, have on like Everything Apple Pro, on iJustine, people are really tuned into these original. Oh no, she got scammed.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's fake. That is not. Oh, well, okay, so there you go. I apparently have the only iPhone 3G or 3GS that was actually real on all of
Hmm.
YouTube since launch.
That's pretty crazy. I haven't gotten a chance to watch this video yet, and I do want to watch it. Do you address in the video where you got it from? Because I am kind of curious.
So I actually got it from a private collection through connections and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that one of the other things that was in circulation and has so I'm trying to get a video on this, but sort of adjacent to how I got this phone, I know of another individual who has purchased a legitimate original sealed iPod, the original iPod, and I I'm still working on this because I would love to do this video, not unboxing it, because that is worth an obscene amount of money. But I am potentially, hopefully, fingers crossed, going to be able to do a video. I basically want to offer this person, like, hey, let me go get this authenticated and make a video on that, because I think that would be really cool. I want to like get it x-rayed, take it to an auction, get it examined. um it has like pretty good chain of custody and like receipt history, but I think that would make a very interesting video, so hopefully that will be possible.
Yeah, that would be super awesome. I don't know. You got some good connections now. You're getting a lot of cool stuff.
I know I am working on my all-time goal is to get a sealed power book.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because so the really interesting thing is that sealed iOS devices have a market. Like when you look at the iPod and the iPhone, especially the original iPhone, as you might imagine, there's a huge market for those. But when it comes to the Mac, it's really not the same. Most of the Mac stuff at best is seen as new old stock, and it's not really as collectible. But I find it to be some of the most interesting because Apple's, packaging and the stuff that you get, uh, and the lasting, the lifespan of those products in boxes is a lot longer. If you recall, I did end up getting a brand new in box 2008 MacBook Pro, and that thing was absolutely immaculate. It had its original box, it had its original shipping box. So the box within the box was perfect too. And that one did actually have a swollen battery, but the batteries in every Mac before like 2009 are such that it wouldn't usually damage the product. So you just remove those batteries and they can basically last forever, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's super awesome. And I know you have, obviously I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are some other cool projects coming down the line.
Oh yeah, that's a good point there, Mr. Noah. So the sealed iPhone 3G is not the only sealed device that I have a video coming on this month. And I think it is safe to say that the other sealed product that I'm going to show you guys is one that nobody has ever reviewed.
Wow.
It is a completely unique video, exclusive, first in the world. The only thing that you will ever see about this is on my YouTube channel. And I know that sounds grandiose, but that I fully believe that is the case.
That is a bold. So are you saying even you have the sealed product, but even like unsealed normal video doesn't exist?
I would say to the degree that I will be presenting it, there are 0 other videos that exist of this product.
Wow. That is...
And we're talking about Apple.
Cool. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Damn. That's crazy. That is very exciting.
Oh, no. Sorry to derail, but I was about to take a sip of my water, but a bug fell in it and died in the water. Oh, no, it's not dead.
Oh. No.
Oh man, he's not doing so hot. I'm not going to take a sip out of that. Anyway, I will go on parched. So I've got a lot of people are making guesses. People are saying G4 Cube. Someone say it's a product from before 2005 since there's no video of it being unboxed. Interesting logic because YouTube of course didn't exist before then. Someone saying, wait, it's a Newton. That would be really, really cool. I think you guys are going to be surprised. That's all I'll say. I don't want to give it away. I'm not 100% sure of the timing on this video, but I think it should be before Christmas, so you won't have to wait that long.
Okay, that's pretty soon.
Oh, that video might honestly break the tech news internet. I'm not gonna lie. Oh gosh.
Damn, that is very exciting. I don't remember if you've told me what this is or not. I don't think you did. Did you?
I think I did.
Oh, I might have missed it in the chat history. I'll have to take a look. But that is very cool. And then, oh, you know what? I think maybe it is what I think it is. But with these last 5 minutes we have here, do we want to
Yes,
reflect on 2022 a little bit? Because this will
I
be
think we
our
should.
last episode of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, let me pull up El Calendario. That means calendar.
It
Yeah, we're off
does.
next week. We're off the week after that because it's literally Christmas Day. I don't think many people are going to be like, hang on, Grandma, don't serve the casserole. I got to watch Dark Mode. So we're going to be off then. And right after that, it's January 1st.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's very exciting because I believe we are going to have, I don't see any reason not to. I think we're doing a January 1st podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that'll be a great way to ring in the new year and look forward to another year of stuff.
And hopefully not throwing it away.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, do we want to go through and do a top three? I made a video doing a tier list of everything that came out this year. I'm curious to hear your top three in terms of things that are actually good,
I got to think.
and
All
then
right,
maybe
let's
a
see.
bottom two.
Okay. Okay. I think the Apple Watch Ultra's got to be in that top 3 somewhere. I'm just trying to
Mm,
think of like the products that I've bought this year. So the Apple Watch Ultra is one of them, and I really like it. I really like the battery life. I like the side button. There's some nice quality of life improvements, and I was ready. I had a Series 5. We both had Series 5s. I was
mm.
looking for an upgrade, and the Ultra is just, you know, it's a pretty big upgrade. And when we discussed when it came out, the pricing, it's not cheap. Believe me, it's not cheap. But for what it is, it could have been a lot more expensive. So overall, I think the Apple Watch Ultra is very solid, and I'm happy with that. So that's one of my top 3. And
I would put
then
that in my top three too.
okay, I'm trying to think of what else got released. So I feel like the MacBook Air is probably has to be in there because the MacBook Air, and I don't have one to be clear, but I feel like the MacBook Air was due for an upgrade, and it got a lot of the things that made the MacBook Pro great. It basically got the MacBook Pro redesign, missing some features obviously because it's the MacBook Air, but I think it was a very solid upgrade. And I've only seen it very briefly. I've seen the ones that you have, and I've seen them in the Apple Store, but they're like super thin and light and just really nice. So that's maybe another one for the top 3.
I've got one behind me. It's fantastic. I
Nice.
So the MacBook Air, I would put that at number one, if not for the fact that it is just a bit too expensive. I think if they had put it at $999, instant number one, right? You get everything and more. But the problem is you get everything and more and you pay more also. So for that reason, I don't know. It's also, I think, if you spec it out just a little bit too close to the MacBook Pro 14, it basically the MacBook Air is a great product that is great in a very, very, very specific circumstance. And that is essentially the base model MacBook Air upgraded to 512 gigabytes and on sale. That is the very, very narrow sweet spot for that MacBook Air being perfect, because the base model at retail is a bit too expensive and the base SSD is a bit slow. Um, I mean, the fact that you pay $200 more for slower storage than the M1 is kind of mind-boggling to me. And then the problem is if you did want to spec it out and get the full 8 core the 10 core GPU and get some RAM, 16 gigs, you're already at $1,700, at which point you might as well buy the 14-inch MacBook Pro. So it's got a narrow sweet spot of like, if you find the 512 gigabyte version on sale for like $200 off, best thing you could possibly buy. But it's close. I would say up there for me has got to be the Mac Studio.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just, and again, there's some caveats. It's pricey. It's not upgradable. It could have been storage upgradable, but they chose, frustratingly, and contrary to their environmental approach, to make it not upgradable. But for the size and function of that thing, it is absolutely incredible what they were able to do. Uh, when I compared it to my PC with a Core i9-12900K and the RTX 3090 back in March, it was honestly not that far off. And a lot of people were disappointed. They were like, "Oh, bro, it's not as fast as a 3090." I'm like, "Dude, look at the thing. It uses less power to run the entire Mac Studio, which is air cooled with 2 fans and never makes a noise at all that you can hear. And it uses uses less electricity than just the graphics card in an RTX 3090 build. The efficiency, the packaging, and the system overall is phenomenal. It's absurd how good that thing is.
Yeah, that's definitely, that's not one, that's not a product that is, one that I would be looking at to own. It's just,
Mhm.
not really for me, but definitely
Overkill?
for you. Yeah, I know. And I say that with my MacBook Pro sitting over here, with the, spec'd out MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
But no, the Mac Studio is a great one. I'm going to give a shout out to the AirPods because I know that you're not a big AirPod user, and I feel like someone's got to say it. I think that the AirPods Pro 2 have a bunch of nice, relatively small upgrades. I like the ability to adjust the volume by swiping on the thing. It works pretty well. I think they do sound a little bit better. I think the noise canceling is noticeably better overall. There's just a lot of little things. You can charge it with the Apple Watch charger, which is nice. I don't do it very often, but it's nice to have. The fact that you can track the buds and the case as 3 separate items in the Find My app is very cool. So there's a lot of small things, speaker in the case, whatever. I could go on, but
Mm.
there's a lot of small things that it does, and I think it's a solid overall package. And I had the AirPods Pro 1 since launch. And so, I used them for a long time and the Pro 2s came out and I got them and I'm happy. So I think I got to give them a shout out. And then very briefly, let's do the bottom tier. I think we got to put the iPad there.
Oh,
The
yeah.
new regular iPad, too
iPad
expensive.
10 is right at the bottom for me.
It's too expensive. The accessory ecosystem thing is weird. I
Ugh.
don't know. Just a weird one.
I would also, this might take some people aback, but I would put the MacBook Pro M2 on that list too, right at the bottom. It
That's fair.
is, I mean, I guess it's just a spec bump or whatever, but like, bro, lazy. It still has a touch bar. Come on. It's a pointless product, and it's so close to the MacBook Air that there's no reason to boss it. There's no possible reason to buy the thing. Ugh.
Yeah. I feel like you could even put the iPad Pro
Mm,
on that list. It got the M2, which it doesn't need. It
yeah.
didn't get the sideways camera, and it didn't get the detachable keyboard, whatever thing. I don't know. That was like another nothing upgrade that was not very
Yeah.
interesting.
I would also, I guess, to round this out, it's not really a bad product, more so a missed product.
Hmm.
And that is the iMac. The poor iMac has been so neglected. The new M1 iMac and that design is phenomenal. I use my M1 iMac base model all the time. I love it. But they put it out over a year and a half ago and then they just forgot about it. We don't have a larger one. You can't get a more powerful one. The iMac was such a great it makes me sad because this is the weakest the iMac has ever been in its 24-year history. And I don't know, it's just a little sad to me to see the iMac so neglected.
Yeah, they definitely need. That's a 2023 thing. They gotta do a new. They gotta, they gotta put the M2 chip or M3 chip or
Absolutely.
whatever in the iMac.
Both.
They gotta do a bigger one. They gotta do the Pro. They gotta bring the Pro back. There's
I
a lot
want
of work to do in the
ProMotion. I want
iMac
mini
section.
LED.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm
And the
hoping
last thing.
yeah.
Yeah. No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that I'm hoping that next year we'll see a diversification in higher end Apple products with Apple Silicon. Because right now the Mac Studio is pretty much the highest that it goes. I would love to see a new Pro Display XDR. I'd love to see a studio display with mini LED. I want to see mini LED starting to come to more things. 11-inch iPad Pro should get it. I think maybe not the MacBook Air, but maybe they do a 15-inch MacBook Pro or a 15-inch MacBook Air. I want to see an iMac with mini LED. Like I think that Apple Silicon could do a lot more, and I hope that 2023 is the year. So sorry, Noah. What was your closing thought?
I definitely agree with you there, and I definitely, on our January 1st episode, we'll talk about what we're looking forward to in 2023. And I agree that a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff I'm really hoping Apple does. And the last thing I was going to say is my last bottom tier Apple product is the System Preferences app on macOS Ventura.
Yes, absolutely, bro. I agree with you 100%. I understand why they did it, but by God, I can't find anything.
Yeah, it's not very well organized, and it just doesn't work. Like it's very clearly an iPad app that's running on a Mac in the worst way.
Yeah, and it's really bad. And actually, if we're talking software, Stage Manager, Stage Manager is definitely a bottom tier. Oh
Never
God.
use it. I never use it ever.
The only time I used it was when I made my video on it. And the
Yeah.
video was about how much I didn't like it.
Yeah, I tried it. I tried it once on my Mac, once on my iPad, just to try it, and I was like, okay, no,
Yeah.
this is never turning on again.
It's utterly stupid and pointless. But you know what's not utterly stupid and pointless?
What's that?
Our podcast.
That's
Aw.
true. It's only partially stupid and pointless.
Yes, not entirely though, and that's what counts. You know what else counts is this segue to our outro for the last episode of 2022. I'm a little bummed that we didn't end on episode 69. That would have been funny. But you know what? You win some, you lose some. And I have won the challenge for most number of transitions in a podcast outro.
Oh my God.
So I will be accepting the reward on my behalf. My behalf being, of course, your host, Luke Miani.
And I have been your host, Noah Rubin. You can look forward to more of this next year in 2023. Have
Or
a great
dread
night.
it.
Or dread it, in my case.